Hey everyone, welcome back to the Jays Fit Down podcast. I'm your host Jay. Today I got my boy Myles here on the show. We're going to be recapping the Rams and the Browns trade involving Myles Garrett. This was a big one. And also we're going to talk about AJ Brown going to the Patriots finally. So a little bit more of a predictable trade on that end. But and then just man, like are the Rams really Super Bowl contenders right now? Have they finally finalize their roster? Like, are they set? So we're gonna talk about that. But Miles, thank you for coming on. We appreciate it.
Of course, anytime, man. I love talking ball with you.
Yes. So yeah, man, Myles Garrett, longtime Brown, number one draft pick in 2017. Defensive player of the year last year, 23 sacks, the most in a single season last year for him. Just heck of a player. Got traded to the Rams, bro, yesterday. What when that happened, what are your thoughts on that? Like, I mean,
I was in genuine disbelief. It almost reminds me of the Luca trade a little bit.
yeah.
Um, Obviously the circumstances are different. Myles Garrett didn't just take the Browns to the Super Bowl or anything, but the nature of how I felt like when he got traded to the who? The Rams? Um, I just It's surprising because I knew Myles Garrett I think it was a couple off seasons ago, was so adamant about I want to go to a contender. I don't want to resign in Cleveland. And they throw 160 M's his way. He's like, you know what? Maybe Cleveland isn't that bad after all. And then for him to be in a position now where he got that contract and now is on a contender, I I'm proud of how he was able to navigate that situation and am excited to see him on a team like the Rams because I think that the Rams everybody already viewed them as contenders. I mean, they were a game away from the Super Bowl last year, and having a guy that's capable of getting 23 sacks in a season can definitely be that turning point that maybe push you over edge.
Yeah. I mean, this was a team that already like had you could say the best offense statistically, definitely in the NFL last year.
Definitely.
Matthew Stafford was the MVP. I mean, at 38 years old, by the way. And their defense, I mean, was very good for especially like for the age they were, like it's particularly on the back end, like they were very young, but they were still a very solid defense. They just as you know, that as they got into the playoffs, of course, you're going to run into better teams, right? In Seattle, that's just their year. But the Rams are right there, and you, then they traded for Trent McDuffie from the Chiefs, a very all
Yes.
corner. That Jalen Watson, like, then you go and get Myles Garrett. To me, this team is Super Bowl. I told you, like we talked about this.
Yeah.
The Rams, to me, I don't see anybody beating the Rams like this year. Like, and then I don't see anybody like taking them out in the NFC. Like, they're just too
Yeah.
complete of a roster to me.
I,
Like,
I would add on AFC either. I don't recall, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I've ever seen a reigning MVP and Depoy on the same team. I think that in and of itself is already like according to the previous statistics, you got the best player on both sides of the ball 9 times out of 10, no matter who you're playing against. And like you brought up, we have Trent McDuffie um, getting added to the equation. I already thought the addition of him was enough to put them over edge
yeah,
because, like you said, they're very youthful in the secondary. And now we're adding in a Myles Garrett. Take it from me, a Packers fan that watched Micah Parsons play last year, that an elite pass rusher makes the secondary look better than they already do because you're speeding up the processing of the quarterback, especially when they're young and people who aren't as experienced trying to get to the Super Bowl. So Myles Garrett is going to speed up that process. And then you have Trent McDuffie as your cornerback one. What more can you ask for on the defensive side of the ball? And then when they do create plays, we have a Matthew Stafford that we're trusting not to lose the game on the offensive side of the ball. You can't really ask for too much more than that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and you talk about the defensive line. You got Byron Young, who was very good for them. Kobe Durant, also in there. I mean, and then you look at the linebacking core of Nate Landman, very solid player, former Falcon, who I got to watch play for a couple years. He was a solid player for them. Like they're the Rams, bro. Like like I said, the way they have constructed their roster, and this has been a team historically that hasn't really liked to, you know, they've been very selective with their draft picks and things like that. They've kind of been a certain way about those type of things, but they going to give up like what, two for Myles Garrett. Like they really believe, which is I believe is the case, that they
Yes,
are a Super Bowl team. Like, and they
yes,
could have been last year very well.
yes. And I trust their judgment from the top down because we saw when you had a Super Bowl appearance from a guy like Jared Goff and they go all in on a Matthew Stafford, how that turned out for them. And so for them to be one game away last year, and most people agree that whoever won between the Seahawks and the Rams was probably going to win it all. For them to be one game away and go all in on a Myles Garrett and go all in on a Trey McDuffie. I remember what happened the last time I saw the Rams go all in like this, and I would be surprised to see the same outcome.
Yeah, and we remember that was your they went and got Von Miller. They had got Jalen Ramsey the year before, but still like
Mhm.
in the same like timeline, same process. Like you go and get those guys. Um, I mean, already with Aaron Donald on your team, like Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, let's talk about how
Oh my
great he was
goodness.
for them.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
so, like you said, the last time when they were moving like that, but won the Super
Right.
Bowl.
And then this time, I guess not the same offensive firepower in search of, making moves. But again, you bring up Odell and they already had a Cooper Cup. And this year I'm looking at, okay, we have a Devontae Adams, we have a Puka Nacua, we have a Kyron Williams, we have a Blake Corum. Like they have exactly what it takes, in my opinion, to do what they did a few years ago. And I'll add in, it seemed like last year the Seahawks and the Rams were the two best teams kind of all year. And it's something about being a step away from the Super Bowl where you make that push to get over the top versus winning the Super Bowl, you always seem to lose a piece. And I think with the Seahawks losing Kenneth Walker in particular, it'll be hard to replicate the success that he had in the postseason because throughout the course of the regular season, there was a 1-2 punch with him and Charbonnet. And Charbonnet getting taken away, Kenneth was playing out of his mind and got the contract that he did. Now you're asking a young Jadarian Price, whose workload is unknown because he played behind Jeremiah Love. Not saying he's not good, but I don't know about his workload in the year one and Charbonnet coming off the ACL. To me, they were the Rams' toughest competition all year. And with them kind of having questions at the running back position, especially with a Myles Garrett coming in, if your running game isn't as potent, it makes it easier for the pass rush to get home. And that's the last thing you want from Myles Garrett. So, yeah, everything seems to be pointing in the Rams' direction, in my opinion, as long as they stay healthy.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, and for the most part, they were really able to do that last year, staying healthy. I mean, and like, yeah, bro, crazy move. Was not expecting that at all, but
Mhm.
kudos to Les Snead and Sean McVay and the Rams front
Yes,
office, and the job that
absolutely.
they're able to do, and just Sean McVay. And what's funny, people who don't know this, Sean McVay was contemplating before he signed that extension that he signed. I believe it was this offseason. Um, he at one point was contemplating retirement. But
Absolutely.
his
I think him and
his
Matthew Stafford, their timelines are kind of connected a little bit.
Yeah, and funny, his wife was like, told him like, no, you need to keep
Yeah,
coaching.
yeah,
So let's all
absolutely.
thank Mrs. McVay because
Absolutely.
she,
She, yeah. She
she
kept a great one in the game. She kept a great one in the
yes,
game.
yes.
Absolutely.
Like because Sean McVay is a brilliant mind. I love how he coaches the game, how he is an architect, offensively and
Mhm.
defensively, I would add. And so he's the guy who knows the game. And I have a huge amount of respect for him, as a coach. So I'm glad he's staying. Um, so I just wanted to add that
Any
in
football
case
fan should be, unless
any football
maybe,
fan.
unless maybe you're a 49ers or a Seahawks fan out of spite. But realistically, anybody who's a football fan is glad to see him stick around.
Yes, yes. So I just wanted to add that in there in case anybody didn't know that. But
Yes.
so yeah, I think we both agreed that like yes, Rams definitely Super Bowl team after this move for sure. Well, they already were, but they
Yeah.
solidified it.
Right. Right.
Right. Um, Now AJ Brown, so he goes to the Patriots. So a team that was representing the AFC in the Super Bowl last year. We all knew this was kind of coming, right? At some point,
Right.
Patriots were a team that kept getting brought up and up and up over and over, and eventually it was a matter of when. We saw last year him and Hurts just kind of weren't really on that kind of same accord. Um, so what are your thoughts on that trade, man? Like,
Okay, so I'm a big AJ Brown guy. I always have been. I remember, the year before last, I told you headed into the season, okay, the Eagles adding Saquon, that's gonna make them Super Bowl contenders. Like I was confident the whole year. In that same breath, you and I, we didn't talk at the time, but when AJ got traded to Philadelphia, AJ was somebody I was big on. Similarly to like how I had the JSN in fantasy last year, AJ Brown was my guy that year. Like I remember that. And I get that same feeling of him going to New England because I look at a up and coming Drake May. I look at a familiarity with Mike Vrabel because AJ Brown became who he was in Tennessee. And I think to see the drama, the dramatic fashion in which he got out of Philadelphia, he's not going to go back with the coach who he's already played with before and feel that dramatic discourse. He's going to be like, no, we know what you're bringing. We know what we're bringing you in for. We were just in the Super Bowl. Maybe if we have a dominant guy like you, that game looks different. And again, Drake May coming in his second true year is like a respected starter like that. I think this is going to be great for him to be coming off of a MVP caliber season, finishing second in the voting and adding an AJ Brown into the equation. I think big things are coming New England's way. I don't know if I would necessarily say they're going back to the Super Bowl, but he makes it a real possibility.
yeah, I mean, he's for sure gonna help them. Because the Patriots receiving core was just like, I mean, they had some solid contribution. I mean, from Kayshon Boutte, he played very well for them last year. Stephon Diggs had a solid year, but it still wasn't it wasn't efficient enough. So and that kind of hurt them in Super Bowl along with some other things. But
Absolutely.
I think AJ Brown will definitely like it's gonna be a huge help for them. Now, watch here and say he's like a top 10 receiver. I
I
mean,
don't know that I'm saying no. That's the thing. I think when you have somebody like Drake May and an offense ran by Mike Vrabel, I wouldn't be surprised to see him put up top 10 numbers because to me, the wide receiver position is so deep. When I think about top 10, like 20 names cross my mind, and it's like you got to cross people off of the list. So I think he has the opportunity to show that. Because again, the wide receiver position is so talented. I think each team's on average wide receiver one has a strong case to be a top 10 at the position. It's just a matter of who has the quarterback. For example, we all agree that Justin Jefferson is top five. But if we're looking at the statistics, far from that last year. And I think AJ Brown walking into a situation with Drake May, I'm not saying he's better than Justin Jefferson necessarily, but the way the offense can look, I wouldn't be surprised for people at the end of the year to be like, oh yeah, AJ Brown is this, he's that, he's the other, because I think New England will be tailor made for him to thrive.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, like you said, the receiving position is very deep in NFL. You have a lot of guys that are very good. Like some of them are just been in bad situations. I mean, look at a guy like Garrett
Mhm.
Wilson in New York. That dude's
Oh my
phenomenal.
gosh, don't
I
get me
remember him at
started.
Haas. Garrett Wilson. There was a play
He's
he
another
made
one of
at
my
Ohio State,
guys.
bro. He had this amazing catch. I think you might know the play I'm talking about. Like,
Mhm.
dude, I knew then I was like, yeah, he's like wherever he goes, he's going to be a star. Um, Unfortunately, that was to the Jets. Um, so not he has been a star, but it just, you know,
In that same breath, I look at Chris Olave, right? I look at him kind of coming out of the gates in where you saw flashes, and then he had the concussion issues. But last year, on the back of them drafting a new quarterback and him getting some familiarity with Chris Olave, he wins comeback player of the year. And so again, I say that in the same breath of AJ Brown going back to a familiar system with Mike Vrabel and having a Drake May. I wouldn't be surprised to see him have one of those years where we're talking about him differently than we are right now.
hey, maybe so. Maybe so.
The
I
same thing with Garrett Wilson, and not this year, they just didn't figure anything out. But
yeah.
in that same light, if they can get a quarterback in with some consistency and find a coach to finally get it figured out, same thing with Garrett Wilson. I don't think he's a household name amongst the casual football fan or somebody that everybody has in their top tens. But I guarantee if we get some right quarterback play, we'll be talking about him differently too.
Yeah. I don't think people like understand how much like it's like this. Like it has to be you
Absolutely.
have to have the great quarterback play. Like you have to have it. Receivers are good, they can be good, but like again, you can only do so much. You can only do what you can do when the football gets to you.
Absolutely. So on the flip side of that same coin, I would ask you, now that we're taking away a talent like AJ Brown, what does that look like for Philadelphia in your opinion?
Devontae Smith is gonna have to be that number one guy. And I very well think he's capable of doing that.
Absolutely.
He was doing that at Alabama in college. You know, okay, it's college, but you're in the SEC, you're going to be against
Right.
like NFL talent pretty much every other week or whatever. Um, so it's like I think he's very well capable of doing so. Um, had over 80 catches, over 1,000 yards, like what, like almost double-digit touchdowns last year, going off the top of my head. So he's been solid since he came in the league. I think they'll be fine. And they also have of course Myles Garrett, who they picked up in the draft. So I'm sure he'll get definitely some valuable playing time. Dallas Goedert and receiving. I think offensively they're going to be okay. I don't. They have a new offensive coordinator again this year, Sean Mannion, who I'm very
Every
familiar
year.
with. We used to be with the Packers. Was a quarterback there? Oh no, he wasn't a quarterback. They were. I think it was with the Rams. He was with the quarterback with when he played, but he was a offensive coach for the Packers. I think he
Hmm.
worked with the quarterback. So he's now the offensive coordinator for the Eagles after Kevin Patullo got fired, which was a great move. Um,
Yeah.
but so I don't know, man. The Eagles, like I said, I just don't. At the end of the day, like I don't have anybody getting past the Rams in the NFC. I don't think Philly might be the closest bet. Well, no, Detroit would be. Um, hey man, I had to come on. Like, I would say the Packers, but I got to see what Jordan Love we're gonna get.
You don't see me out here talking about the Panthers, man. Like, come on, man.
Hey, I'll sit here and say the Panthers had like there. I could see some. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw a little bit of improvement from them this year. Um, but that being said, like let's just put to you this way: like there's a few teams that I would probably put above Philadelphia to like probably challenge the Rams a little bit in the NFC. And that might come down to, yeah, I would say Detroit, Green Bay, yeah, depending on how they play. Maybe the
Got to throw
Bears.
Seattle in there.
Mm. Mm.
Why? I don't think they got too much
Maybe
worse.
maybe they'll still be good. So it's okay to Seattle. So, but other than that, like I don't. The Eagles, to me, are not one of those top teams that would challenge them. I just don't. I
Yeah,
don't see it. I just don't
I
see
agree
it.
because I
Um,
don't think you lose at AJ Brown and get better. Although Mekhi Lemon is promising, I look at where they've been the last couple of years. And of course, not taking away from the fact they just won the Super Bowl, but that was so much weight on Saquon. So he had 2,000 yards and he opened up the field in a way where defenses had to pay so much respect to him. AJ Brown and Devonta Smith couldn't help but to have good games. But now that that pop and the newness of that isn't really hitting the same, he wasn't as efficient last year. Taking AJ Brown away, I just can't help but to imagine that that only is going to make them a step slower.
yeah, no, for sure. So, yeah, but I do think that the Patriots got a great player in Brown, and it definitely will help them out for sure. Um, like defensively, they were good last year. I don't think you are only going to get better in that department. So we'll see
So
how it works for
I
them.
would I would ask in the same breath of us kind of feeling like the Rams are the team to beat in the
Mhm.
NFC, knowing the Patriots just represented the AFC in the Super Bowl. and you add a dominant wide receiver like AJ Brown, who do you view as the favorites in the AFC?
It was funny. I was actually going to ask you the same thing in a little bit. Um,
Hey, great minds think alike.
yeah, right. Um, I don't know, man. Honestly, um, the AFC. I mean, that's it's kind of tough. I mean, because it's like it's a little bit more vast. It's a little bit more open. I mean, like I say that, but then when we get to the playoffs, we really all will we know who's gonna stay and who's gonna lose. So I could sit here and be like every other analyst and say the Bills is an option. This is the Bills year. I'm not. I'm not every other analyst. I'm Jay. I'm Jaden. Like so, I'm Jay. I can't. This is Jay's fifth down. I'm-
Right.
so I'm gonna sit here and give you my piece. No, I don't. To be honest with you, man, I don't know. I'll tell you what. The Ravens could be an option theoretically. You have a guy like Jesse
You
Minter
sound
come
like you
in.
sound like Kenny Atkinson.
And analytically, the Ravens have won like three Super Bowls, right? But no, but in a theoretical sense, um, the Ravens. I mean, they had to make some moves in the draft, improve their offensive line, their defensive line, which they did. Like you get a guy like Jesse Minter come in to coach your team after he did a great job with the Chargers and at Michigan, coaching the defense with Harbaugh. So now he comes to the Ravens, be their head man. I mean, I'm just saying, like from a sense on paper, like the Ravens are one of those teams I would say could be a favorite. Um, but the Patriots, I would have to probably just because I haven't really seen much different from anybody else. I would keep them at that top spot to probably go
Mm,
back to the Super Bowl. Um, Texans, if the Texans like played some good offense, they could have been there. So I don't know, man, but that's kind of my piece. So
mm. I, I don't know. The Texans is great. That's something I felt too. Their defense is generational.
yeah,
If they can get anything from the offense, they can win a Super Bowl. Um, but I think overall, I kind of circle back to the same teams that I always do. I feel like preseason, I'm thinking not Rams, Ravens, Chiefs, and Bills. And I say that because I look at Patrick Mahomes tearing his ACL. I look at the Ravens being a missed field goal away from winning the division.
yeah.
And I look at the Bills being a couple of plays away from being in the AFC chip. And I think for all teams that were not them, that was the year. Like you didn't have to face Mahomes, you didn't have to face Lamar, and Josh Allen didn't have a DJ Moore yet. So now I'm looking at those three, and I can't help but to think I'm not sure exactly which one, but if Mahomes can be healthy and we have a Kenneth Walker in the backfield now, um, hopefully Rasheed Rice can stay on the field all 17 games and they can be healthy. I still like that because Mahomes in high pressure situations, who's better than him? Again, Lamar, like you said, bringing in a new coach, um, a new system that hopefully changes things up a little bit. Can't help but to look that way. And then again, Buffalo, although I'm not going to say that they're the favorites and this is the year, I kind of look at them and the Ravens in the same breath as it's going to be one year, and why not this one?
Did yes, yeah, that's a good point. You're right. But then again, how many times have we said that? How
And
many
that,
times
but
have we said
again,
like
and I'll say to that, every time we said that, except for last year, who was the team they kept coming up short against?
it was the Chiefs?
And they have Kenneth, and they now have a Super Bowl MVP in the backfield. So that to me, that's a scary. And also, I'll give Denver credit too. I think if
Yeah,
Bo Nix
Denver.
doesn't break his ankle, they probably represent the AFC last year. And you add a guy like Jalen Waddle, who to me is kind of in that same breath of he has a lot of talent, and Miami was, I'm not gonna rain on their parade. Miami was Miami, and they bring in a guy like Jalen Waddle to Denver. Maybe he can add and take them to another level too. So I just think it's so much talent in the AFC where I'm hesitant to say New England is going to go back to back winning the conference. Not there, got worse. Like you said, the defense is good. You add in AJ Brown. I just think that conference is so good where coming back to back outside of Tom and Patrick, teams don't really go back to back winning the AFC. So I'm just hesitant to pick them to represent the AFC again.
Yeah, no, and that was real good, bro. And like you said, it's like you look at the Bills. I mean, yeah, they did get DJ Moore. They didn't really have that number one receiver that last year that they kind of go to. And so with the Chiefs, yeah, I mean, they will hope Patrick Mahomes comes back, healthy. You hope the offensive issues are solved for the Chiefs. They had a lot of those last year. Yes, well, I mean, Patrick Mahomes did get injured eventually, but even just be in the
Yeah,
beginning part
before
of the
he
year,
got
they had
hurt,
some
they weren't
issues.
who yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of drops, a lot of guys weren't, just they just a lot of things were just off mechanically. So they bring in a guy like Eric Bieniemy. Matt Nagy's is he's left. He's gone. You could say
I
he's
think
probably
that's
part of
big
the
too.
reason.
Bringing Eric Bieniemy back, I think that's big.
Yeah. So maybe we'll see it change. But yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's hard to go back to that unless you're Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, but not everybody's Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
So yeah, man. So that's kind of my piece, like, or just respond to your piece. I mean, that's kind of like what I think about that. I mean, but yeah, I think it's gonna be an interesting season. Like the NFC, okay, we kind of know who our people are.
Yeah,
AFC, we know who our people are, but it's a lot more people. Um,
exactly. I think the NFC is more predictable because I think the NFC top to bottom has better rosters. And we're looking at a team like the Rams being, controlled by Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay at the helm. That kind of separates them. The AFC is just so much talent. Like I look at it through this lens. The Rams, Seahawks, 49ers, and Eagles, I'll say. If those four rosters were quarterbacked by Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson, boy, those teams would be, 15-win teams. But like you said, kind of at looking at Kansas City, for example, last year, issues just drops and things of that nature. Like if those AFC teams that have those great quarterbacks can figure out everything going on around them, Joe Burrow too, because we didn't talk about the Bengals really, but like that defense, if they can get those things figured out, the quarterbacks will deliver. But it's just a matter of like the team as a whole got to come through. Even with the Ravens, like we win the division if our kicker can make a kick, but apparently he can't make kicks. So it's just all those little nuanced things.
Football's a team game, man. It is a team game. Yeah. People don't understand that, like, it is a team game. Like, it really is. I
Absolutely.
can speak to it. Like, if you have just a few things off, like if your defense, your special teams, we both know about that.
Oh
Like,
my gosh.
it can throw you off. It can cost you games. Like even if you have the best offense in the league, if you have the best defense in the league, if you can't run the football, you're not going to win games. If you can't throw the football, you're not going to win games. Your defense is really good. If you can throw and run, but you can't stop anybody, you're not going to win. So it's like everything has to be on. It has to be on one accord. It's like an assembly line.
Absolutely. And that's one thing I will give the Patriots, tip my cat off to them and give them their flowers for. They are complete on both sides of the ball, especially in comparing them to the other teams we're mentioning in the AFC. I don't really look at a Patriots team and say, oh, well, they got to work on this. They got to work, especially bringing AJ Brown in. I like what they have going on.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. Um, so yeah, man. I mean, that kind of, wraps us up, man, over here on the podcast. But I just wanted to get your piece, man, on the Rams trading for Myles Garrett, um, the Patriots trading for AJ Brown from the Eagles. So things gonna be looking a little bit different on both sides NFL this year. So, and we'll see how those affect other teams as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. But Yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on and talking ball with us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So just so we're clear, you're way, way, way too early based off of the trades. Super Bowl prediction is Rams Patriots.
Rams and oh, it's so hard to repeat, bro. Like I don't want to give it to the Patriots because like I want to put that pressure on them because that's hard to do.
Yeah.
Um, you know what, man? I'm gonna say Rams and the Broncos. Okay, way too early.
Okay.
Way too
That's not
early.
crazy.
I'm gonna give
That's not
Rams and the
crazy.
Broncos. Okay, so I'm gonna give
Okay.
Denver some love on the show. Okay, so my Broncos fans are giving you some love finally. So take it now. That's my way way too early prediction.
Okay.
But if we revisit this an episode before the season, like that could be subject to change. But
Yeah, yeah. We're not even in training camp. Be a lot of things to still happen. But just, just after the trade, seeing where your mind is at.
yeah, okay, yeah, man, yeah, that's where I'm at. So.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, man, like I said, yeah, thank you, man, for coming on talking ball with us. And make sure you guys subscribe, hit that subscribe button to Jay Smith Down. Follow us on Instagram, JDog underscore 52, and on TikTok as well, King J 50 something 64. I'll put that in the description. But make sure you guys follow us and subscribe. We'll see you next time on the show. My boy Miles, we'll be back. Talk some more.
Most definitely.
So, um, we'll see you next time.